Chosen one. Listen carefully. Heaven has frozen this moment in time just for you. Not 1 second of this message is by chance. This is not just a video. It is not just another scroll on your screen. This is divine interruption. This is an alarm sounding in the spirit. Something is shifting. And you are the reason. The Spirit of God has marked you for this exact second, not a minute early. Not a minute late. There are 21 minutes left. That number is not symbolic. It's prophetic. In the realm of the Spirit, there is a countdown mercy is stretching. But it will not stretch forever. Angels are already moving. Some are waiting, but they will not wait long. And when they are recalled, so is your window. The urgency you feel right now is not fear. It's divine fire. And your soul recognizes it, even if your mind doesn't. You were never like the rest. From the time you were young, you felt different. You didn't fit. You were never supposed to. You weren't born for blending in. You were born for breakthrough. You carry a frequency that shakes the spirit realm. Every room you've walked into has either reacted with honor or hostility. And you've wondered why. It's because your presence disrupts things that are not of God. Chosen one. The heavens have pressed pause around your life. Everything around you is quiet for a reason. Look around. The distractions are fading. The noise is thinning. And the pressure is building. That's not life falling apart. It's the divine spotlight focusing in. You are the reason the enemy has tried so hard to confuse, delay, and seduce. He saw what was on your life long before you did. And right now, time is collapsing. You think you have more. You think you'll get serious later. But the angels won't wait this time. Some doors won't open again. Some assignments won't return. The window is narrowing. And heaven is not whispering anymore. It's roaring. You've heard the gentle nudges. You've felt the convictions. You've ignored them because you thought you had more time. But mercy is moving. And grace is running fast. The next 21 minutes are not just ticking on a clock. They are echoing through eternity. You have a decision to make. And you know what it is. God is not speaking to your ears. He's speaking to your core. You feel it in your bones. This is divine. As we read in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 2 says, "When you walk through fire, you will not be burned, because fire cannot consume what God has crowned." Chosen one. You've survived what should have taken you out. That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. That was covenant. God shielded you because He planned to use you. But the shield lifts when rebellion becomes routine. You are one rebellion away from blindness. That's not fear. That's mercy warning you. God corrects those He loves. But love unreceived becomes judgment, unrestrained. Some of you have been running. You've been using religion to avoid relationship. You've been showing up to church, but refusing to surrender. But the Spirit of God is saying this is your last call to rise. The angels assigned to your purpose have drawn swords. They are not your decoration, they are your defenders. And their movements depend on your obedience. You don't have the luxury of delay. Delay is disobedience in disguise. Partial surrender is full rebellion. You were not built for compromise. You were built for covenant. And covenant requires everything. This isn't about feelings. This isn't about comfort. This is about kingdom. What you choose now will shape what you see next. You are not watching this by mistake. Out of millions, You've been singled out because heaven has declared, "This is the one. This is my chosen. This is the one I preserved. The one I called. The one I will not lose to darkness without a fight." The Lord is contending for your soul even now. But He won't force your hand. Your yes must be real. Your surrender must be total. Soppose. Let the gravity of this moment settle deep. You've been warned. You've been pursued. And now, you're being summoned. Not for applause. Not for approval. But for alignment. God is demanding alignment. Your calling is too great. Your future too costly to live another second out of position. If this word is reaching your sulif, something inside you is trembling, rising. Weeping, don't scroll. Don't delay. Type 777 in the comments right now. Not for me, for God. It is a prophetic act. It says, "I hear, I surrender, I choose my crown." Like, share this message, and subscribe so you don't miss what heaven releases next. Your time is now, before you ever took your first breath. You were chosen, not after you proved your strength, not after you cleaned yourself up, not after you learned to pray. You were set apart before time began. You are not some late addition to God's plan. You are central to it. Heaven whispered your name before your mother even knew she was carrying you. You were marked, sealed, and recorded in the book of life before your eyes ever opened. The war you've been facing didn't start when life got hard. It began in the womb. Hell doesn't waste resources. The attacks on your mind, your body, your family, those weren't random. They were surveillance. The enemy saw what you would carry and tried to cancel it before it could rise. Every moment of trauma, every painful betrayal, every night you cried yourself to sleep, it wasn't meaningless. It was targeted, strategic. Hell hoped to stop you before you ever stood. You were marked for fire, not to be burned, but to burn brightly, to carry glory in a world suffocating in shadows. Your fire was never for display, it was for war. You are a weapon, a signal to the spirit realm that God is still moving, still choosing, still redeeming. And that kind of calling carries weight. It explains why you've never felt like you belonged. You've walked into rooms and instantly felt the tension. People were drawn to your presence or disturbed by it, never neutral. That's because your spirit speaks louder than your voice. You carry authority that others can't understand. You've been misunderstood, mishandled, even mocked. But none of it was wasted. God used every misunderstanding to separate you, every betrayal to sanctify you, every lonely season to speak directly to you. There's a difference between being overlooked and being hidden. You weren't overlooked. You were hidden by God, because what He was shaping in you couldn't survive exposure too soon. Like a seed buried in the soil, your growth required darkness, pressure, isolation. But don't mistake hiddenness for insignificance. Some of the most powerful callings are grown in silence, while others celebrated platforms. God was building your foundation. While they ran for applause, you were being trained in the shadows. And now, He's calling you out, not for fame, not for followers, but for fulfillment. What He whispered to you in the secret place, He's about to shout through your life. You've been set apart. That's why the old patterns no longer satisfy you. That's why you can't enjoy what you used to. Your appetite has changed. It's not because you're broken, it's because you're becoming. God is maturing your spirit, rewiring your desires, preparing your vessel. You were never meant to settle. You were never meant to conform. You were meant to rise. But with the calling comes the cost. Being marked means being misunderstood. Being chosen means being crushed. The anointing isn't light, it's heavy. It will isolate you. It will stretch you. But it will also empower you to stand where others fall, to speak when others are silent, to move when others freeze. You've wondered why certain doors slammed shut, why people you loved walked away, why the things you prayed for didn't happen. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. God wasn't punishing you. He was protecting you. Because what's on your life is too important to be entangled with anything beneath your assignment. The enemy tried to convince you that you missed it, that your moment passed, that your mistakes disqualified you. But hear this, nothing God has called you to can be cancelled by your past. Your calling is older than your failure. His grace is deeper than your doubt. You are still chosen, still called, still marked. And now, the Spirit of God is stirring you awake. Not gently, not softly, but urgently, because your delay is becoming dangerous. The earth is groaning for sons and daughters to rise. The time for silence is over. The time for compromise is done. You have nothing left to lose and everything to release. The people connected to your assignment are waiting. Your obedience will unlock freedom for others. Your courage will shatter generational curses. Your yes will echo beyond your lifetime. But it starts here, with remembrance, with realignment, with recognizing that you were chosen long before you could ever prove yourself worthy. Paul reminds us in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 10 says, "For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Then, you are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are right on time for what heaven had in mind. You were marked long ago, and now the mark is burning. Heaven is calling it forth. Hell saw you coming. Long before you understood your own identity, the kingdom of darkness had already taken notice. The moment you entered this world, alarms sounded in the spiritual realm, not because of what you had done, but because of who you are. Not a threat by title, but by destiny. You are dangerous to darkness simply by breathing in alignment with God's plan. You wonder why the pressure has been relentless, why certain patterns keep trying to pull you back, why the same people seem to show up every time you're on the verge of breakthrough. It's not random. It's a counterattack. The enemy does not attack what he doesn't fear, and he fears you. Not your name on paper, not your accomplishments, but your alignment with heaven's timeline. Every setback was meant to make you sit down. Every heartbreak was designed to break your focus. Every failure was crafted to frame your identity. But here's the truth, none of it stuck. You're still standing, still seeking, still sensing that there's something more. That alone proves you are who God says you are. Don't downplay your discernment. The dreams that won't leave you, the inner knowing that something massive is near, that rising sense that you were made for Moritz, not fantasy. It's confirmation. The divine fingerprint on your soul refuses to be erased. The devil's worst nightmare isn't you falling. It's you realizing that you were born for warrant, then standing up. Because when a chosen one awakens, territories shift. When you step into your rightful place, the very atmosphere bends. You weren't made to survive the darkness. You were created to displace it. And the moment you declare your alignment out loud, something breaks in the spirit. Not a whisper, not a maybe, a declaration. That's why you must speak now. Comment, I take my place. Not because you feel ready, but because heaven has already prepared the place. This is not about emotion, it's about position. God has carved out an assignment that only you can fulfill. The seat has your name on it. The enemy can try to delay you, distract you, deceive you, but he cannot take your place unless you abandon it. You've been wandering long enough, doubting long enough, watching others step out while shrinking back in fear. But something in you is shifting. The pull is different now. It's not a nudge, it's a command. Rise, stand, take your place. There's no more room for excuses. You know too much now. You've seen too much. You've endured too much to pretend you're not called. Every fire you've walked through wasn't just about survival, it was about shaping you for leadership, for territory, for legacy. Your voice carries power. Your presence carries weight. You are not background noise in the kingdom. You are frontline authority. And the moment you step into your role, the enemy has to shift. That's why hell has tried to drown your confidence in shame, insecurity, and fear. Because if you ever truly believe who you are, everything changes. The ones closest to you may not understand. That's okay. Some people are only assigned to your past. They cannot walk with you into your calling. Let them go with grace. But don't go back to get them. Your forward motion is non-negotiable now. Obedience is the price of authority, and hesitation is a luxury you can no longer afford. You were never meant to play small, never meant to sit in the background while the world burns. The pain you've experienced has been intense because the power you carry is immense. God never wastes a wound. He doesn't let fire touch what he doesn't plan to use. You have carried the weight of warfare most can't even name. You've survived silent battles, hidden storms, moments where you were one decision away from destruction. And yet, mercy caught you. Grace covered you. Purpose pulled you back. And now, your name is being whispered in heavenly places again. Your assignment is being summoned. Your calling is knocking louder than ever before. This is not the time to hide. This is the moment to stand. Comment it now. I take my place. End 1. Why? Because when you speak it, heaven aligns with your voice. Chains break. Clarity returns. Boldness rises. Your declaration activates your atmosphere. This is how the remnant rise sown bold, yes at a time. The Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19 declares, I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions, and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you. Olua, you have authority. But authority unclaimed is power wasted. You must take your place not just in word, but in posture, in obedience, in surrender. Your hesitation has been understood until now. From this moment forward, it becomes rebellion. The angels are watching. The clock is ticking. Your assignment is calling. Take your place. Chosen one. The kingdom is waiting, and the angels will not wait forever. Chosen one. Every delay you've endured, every door that refused to open, every relationship that collapsed unexpectedly, none of it was by accident. What looked like sabotage was actually strategy. What felt like punishment was protection in disguise. God's hand was all over your waiting season. Even when his silence screamed louder than your prayers, there is a divine architecture to the pain you've endured. You were not denied. You were delayed because heaven was still preparing the ground you are called to walk on. If God had released you too soon, the very thing meant to elevate you would have crushed you. You thought you were ready, but God saw the snares in your path. He saw what you couldn't see, and in his mercy, he slowed you down. You asked why certain blessings seemed to skip over you, why your name was never called when others were chosen. But what you didn't realize was this: you weren't being skipped, you were being set apart. Hiddenness is not rejection, it's refinement. God needed to burn out the approval addiction, the fear of man, the impulse to compromise, because where he's taking you, there can be no mixture, no double-mindedness, no split loyalty. You weren't delayed because you lacked potential. You were delayed because your purpose is weightier than most. The anointing you carry isn't cheap, and God does not hand out expensive mantles to untested vessels. He needed to make sure your character wouldn't crumble under the weight of your calling. You were being fortified in silence, purified in obscurity, tested in isolation. Some of the greatest spiritual work happens in invisible seasons. While the world sees nothing changing, heaven sees everything aligning. You've walked through days where it felt like nothing made sense. You've endured nights where the only voice you heard was your own fear. But what you couldn't see was the hand of God moving behind the curtain-cutting ties, blocking detours, orchestrating encounters. Don't curse the season that built your roots. The tree that bears fruit must first go deep in the soil. God wasn't punishing you when he made you wait. He was preparing the oil that will flow from your life. The oil of authority, the oil of wisdom, the oil of discernment. That oil only comes from crushing, and you have been crushed. You cried and asked God to take the pain away. But he knew what you were really asking was for the process to be shortened. Yet there are no shortcuts to true power, no quick roads to lasting glory. Your wilderness was holy ground. Your waiting was sacred space. You weren't stuck, you were being seated. And the seat he's preparing for you cannot be rushed. Others may have taken off faster, but speed is not the same as sustainability. You weren't called to sprint, you were called to endure. Many who started before you will fade because they were built on hype, not holiness. But you, your story is being carved in stone. Your life will outlast trends, survive storms, and release legacy. Because you were willing to wait. The enemy hoped the delay would destroy you. He hoped it would make you bitter, silent, small, but instead, it made you dangerous. You learned to hear God's voice in the stillness. You discovered how to worship without the crowd. You became fluent in prayer, not performance. That's why the enemy is nervous. Because now, when you speak, heaven listens. And when you move, the atmosphere responds. You carry something that can't be faked, an authority forged in fire, a depth that cannot be manufactured. The wilderness carved out wells in your spirit, deep wells of revelation, compassion, and purity. And now, you will pour. You will speak from experience, lead from scars, and serve from a place of overflow. What felt like delay was God's way of writing endurance into your bones, because what's ahead won't be easy. There will be more battles, more weight, more responsibility. But now, You're ready. The hesitation has died. The fear has been burned out. What remains is a vessel that says, whatever it costs, I'm available. I'm handy. And just because it took longer doesn't mean it's too late. Heaven is never behind. You didn't miss your moment. You were being matured for it. When God releases you, it won't be for a moment of influence. It will be for a movement of impact. You will carry a sound that awakens the weary, a voice that shatters compromise, a presence that shifts rooms not because of you, but because of the one who formed you in delay. It was all necessary. The waiting, the weeping, the wondering. It produced something weighty in your spirit, something real, something eternal. And now, it's time to walk into the very places you once begged to escape. But this time, with fire in your bones, clarity in your soul, and heaven's wind at your back. Your delay was divine. Your time has come. Chosen one. You cannot stay hidden anymore. The Spirit of God is calling you out. You've been in the shadows long enough, not because you were weak, but because God was shaping you in secret. But now, the time of unveiling is here. Heaven is ready to reveal what hell has feared. For years, your silence was a weapon during your formation. But now, your voice is the sword. The enemy hoped you'd stay quiet, that you'd stay wrapped in insecurity, trapped in hesitation, paralyzed by past failures. But God never intended for you to remain unseen. You are a light, and light was never meant to stay under a basket. It was meant to be placed on a hill for all to see and be guided by. Every time you've tried to step forward in the past, resistance met you. You thought it meant you weren't ready. But the truth is, resistance means you're necessary. You felt invisible in rooms you were anointed to lead. You've questioned if your presence mattered, but even in silence, you carried authority. You didn't blend in because you weren't designed to. You've been set apart for such a time as this. Now, heaven is sounding the alarm in your spirit. This is not a season to shrink back. This is not the time to pretend you don't see what you see or feel what you feel. You've been entrusted with vision, with fire, with oil, and it's time to pour it out. Darkness is pressing in on the world, and your voice has been anointed to pierce through it. You have been through too much to stay quiet. You've been crushed too deeply to hold back. The things you've overcome are not meant to sit unused in your story. They are meant to be your launching pad. Every trial, every tear, every betrayal was fuel for the mantle you now carry. You are dangerous because you have nothing left to prove and everything left to release. God has placed something unique inside of you, and it is not meant to sit on the shelf. This is not the time to say, someone else will. You are the one. You are the voice. You are the breakthrough. And the longer you wait, the more territory remains untouched. Your obedience isn't just about your blessing, it's about the people assigned to your voice, your gift, your presence. There are souls waiting on your surrender. Don't underestimate how deeply your story is needed. There are people drowning in the pain you've already walked through. There are lives trapped in the very cages God has already broken you out of. Your voice is the key. Your fire is the signal. It's not about being perfect, it's about being available. Stop waiting for a crowd. Stop waiting for applause. You don't need permission. You have already been commissioned. The time for silence has ended. You are not just a survivor, you are a speaker of freedom, a breaker of chains, a carrier of glory. You don't need to shout to be powerful. Your obedience speaks louder than any microphone. Let this be your moment of movement. Step forward, even if your knees tremble. Speak, even if your voice shakes. The trembling just means you still know it's holy. Your calling is sacred, and God is standing with you. Paul reminds us in the book of Romans, chapter 10, verse 14 says, "How can they hear without someone preaching to them?" Chosen one, you are the one meant to speak, to proclaim, to carry the sound of awakening in this generation. Let your yes echo. Let your obedience provoke heaven to release what it's been holding back. The next move of God is not waiting on a stage, it's waiting on you. It's waiting on the ones willing to come out of hiding. Shake off the fear and release what they've carried in silence for too long. If this word is stirring your spirit, if something inside of you is rising, then you already know what you must do. God is not whispering anymore. He is summoning. He is calling his warriors to the front lines. And you, chosen one, are not exempt. Your time of hiding is over. Your mantle is visible, and your voice is needed now more than ever. Like this message, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Subscribe so you never miss another divine moment like this. You are not just being encouraged, you are being activated. Chosen one, you are standing in borrowed time. Heaven is counting down. And the angels assigned to your life are positioned, but they are not eternal by default. The assignments they carry have a limit. The window that is open now will not stay open forever. You can feel it, can't you? That tightening in the spirit, that holy pressure. It's not fear, it's urgency. The countdown has begun. There are 21 minutes left in the realm of divine timing, and every second is precious. Not symbolic, not poetic, real, spiritual. You are living in a window that demands a response. Mercy is still flowing. Yes, but it is moving quickly now. The doors that stayed open out of compassion will begin to close for the sake of order. And when they close, it will not be cruelty, will be justice. You know this truth deep inside. That pull on your soul, that ache in your spirit, it's not coincidence. It's the sound of heaven drawing near, and you're not watching this by chance. You were led here. Heaven orchestrated this encounter. God is not speaking to your ears right now. He's speaking directly to your calling. This is not content. This is confrontation. And your spirit recognizes it. You can't afford to play with time. You've already seen what delay costs. Missed opportunities. Broken connections. Cycles you thought were done, suddenly reappearing. This isn't just life being hard. This is spiritual consequence. You know you're called, and every time you choose comfort over obedience, a piece of your authority erodes. Mercy is a gift, but it is not permission to rebel. Grace will cover you, but grace, misused, becomes your own trap. You can't run forever. And even if you've mastered the art of looking fine on the outside inside, you're tired. Tired of running. Tired of pretending. Tired of knowing what to do and not doing it. You've had the dreams. You've seen the visions. You've felt the nudges. And still, you've hesitated. But this moment is different, because the Lord is now confronting your indecision, not with condemnation, but with clarity. He is pulling back the curtain and showing you the cost of continued delay. It's not just your future at stake. It's the lives connected to your yes. It's your children, your city, your bloodline. This isn't personal, it's prophetic. The angels will not wait this time. They are waiting now, but not idly. They are standing by your side, ready to war, to protect, to break through. But even angels are assigned for a season. If they return to the throne with your assignment unclaimed, the mantle will not remain vacant. It will fall to another. God's plan will go forward, but you may not be part of it if your heart remains hard. This is your final warning, not in fear, but in fire. The fire of love, the fire of correction, the fire that calls the called ones back to their posts. You cannot sit in this divine discomfort and do nothing. You are being stirred to move, to surrender, to rise not later, now. And this is the sign you've asked for. You've said, God, give me confirmation. This is it. The prophetic alarm is blaring, and it carries your name. You are the interruption to your family's patterns. You are the one who breaks the cycles. You are the one who carries the cure. But if you don't move, that door will close, and the pain of missing it will be greater than the fear of obeying. As it was written in the book of Hebrews, chapter 3, verse 15 says, Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts, because when you harden your heart in the presence of God's voice, you don't just lose clarity, you invite confusion. Every delay from this point forward doesn't just slow you down, it bends your path toward danger. The longer you wait, the more difficult it will be to hear him, and eventually, what once stirred you will no longer move you. That is the scariest judgment of all, numbness. So choose now. Return to your post. Reclaim your mantle. Remember who you are. You have not fallen too far. You are not too late. But you are on the edge, and heaven will not plead with you forever. If this word is confirming what you've already felt in your spirit, comment the number 999 right now. 999 is a prophetic number. It means the old is complete. I step into the new. Ender. You're not just watching this. You're standing at the threshold. Your obedience in this moment could reroute everything. Comment it boldly. 999. Because this time, the angels won't wait. Disobedience always has a cost. It's not always immediate. And it's not always dramatic, but it is always spiritual. Chosen one. Every time you delay your response to God's voice, something in the spirit shifts and not in your favor. You may still breathe, still function, still appear fine to others, but in the realm that matters most, your light begins to dim, your edge dulls, your covering thins. God is not playing games with your calling. His mercy is real. Yes, his compassion endless. But mercy unreceived turns into warning. Conviction ignored becomes silence. And silence from heaven is not peace, it's distance. You've already felt it before, haven't you? That eerie calm that isn't comfort but caution. That stillness that feels more like God stepping back than drawing near. You were never built to function apart from obedience. Disobedience in your life is not a slip, it's a breach in your assignment. And every time you dismiss the pull to surrender, you risk going blind to what's holy. What once made you tremble no longer moves you. What once stirred you to tears now feels like just another message. That is the decay of the chosen who delay. The danger isn't always obvious. That's what makes it so deceptive. You'll still hear sermons, still feel inspired at moments, still talk like you're on fire, but your soul knows. You know when you've drifted. You know when the anointing has lifted a little. You know when the presence has stepped back. And though you don't say it out loud, it haunts you. You wonder why you don't feel the urgency like you used to, why you've stopped dreaming, why the tears won't come like they did before. That's not emotional fatigue, that's spiritual erosion. And it comes from ignoring too many instructions. The Holy Spirit isn't loud. He whispers. And when you keep walking past his whisper, eventually, you won't hear it anymore. God doesn't always shout warnings. Sometimes, he just stops speaking. Not because he doesn't care, but because you wouldn't listen. And when you no longer respond to correction, heaven stops sending clarity. Instead, you're handed over to the illusion of doing enough. But deep inside, your soul knows it's been years since you truly obeyed. There's no more room for that. Not now. Not with what's at stake. You're too close to breakthrough to fall into old patterns again. The enemy knows he can't stop you by force, so he seduces you into passivity. He numbs you with distractions, exhausts you with busyness, and feeds you just enough religious noise to keep you from full surrender. And you've been eating crumbs when heaven has prepared a feast. You can't afford to live off second-hand fire, off someone else's revelation, off yesterday's encounter. That's why you've been feeling dry. That's why your worship feels shallow, because God isn't letting you borrow oil anymore. He's requiring your own. And oil only flows from surrender, from pressing, from obedience. You say you're waiting for confirmation, but truthfully, you're hiding behind delay. You already know what you're supposed to do. You already know the step he's requiring, the relationship you're supposed to end, the habit you need to crucify, the room you need to leave, the altar you need to return to. This isn't a mystery, it's just inconvenient. But obedience doesn't wait for convenience. It responds at the sound of the King's voice. And here's the truth that silence tries to bury. There is no neutral place for a chosen one. You're either advancing or retreating, growing or withering, aligned or drifting. You don't get to coast not with the kind of fire you carry. Heaven's mark on you is a target. If you're not walking in obedience, you're walking into warfare you're not covered for. That's why things have felt harder lately. That's why peace seems further away. Your delay is inviting conflict. God isn't asking for perfection. He's asking for surrender. He's not demanding you be ready. He's commanding you to be willing. The readiness comes in the going. The clarity comes in the yes. The favor falls in the obedience. But none of it activates until you move. Paul wrote in the letter to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 7 says, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. You cannot plant hesitation and expect breakthrough. You cannot sow rebellion and expect peace. What you release in obedience is what heaven multiplies. So, take a moment, not to argue with yourself, not to rationalize your delay, but to ask, am I still obeying, or have I become numb? The answer matters more than you know. You're standing on holy ground, whether you realize it or not. And holy ground demands holy posture. Disobedience doesn't always look like sin. Sometimes it looks like settling, like partial submission, like silent resistance. Don't fall for it. Don't drift so far that conviction feels foreign. Return now, while the whisper still calls your name. Obey. Chosen one, heaven is watching, and mercy will not wait forever. You're not like them. You never were, and you've known it for as long as you can remember. Even when you tried to blend in, something inside you resisted. You've been called strange, too intense, too sensitive, too spiritual. But those weren't flaws. They were evidence. Evidence that you carry something different. A different weight. A different frequency. A different fire. You were never meant to fit into systems designed to keep people silent. Never meant to chase the approval of crowds who are asleep to the things of the Spirit. You were designed to interrupt, to confront, to awaken. And that's why life has never let you coast. Others can play with darkness and walk away unharmed. You couldn't. Others can live in compromise and seem to thrive. But every time you tried, heaven pulled you back and hell pushed harder. Because both realms recognize what's on your life. And so does your soul. That tension you carry every day, the one that won't let you settle's not discomfort. It's divine resistance. God himself won't let you go numb. That ache is holy. That pull is sacred. It's heaven reminding you, you are not of this world. You were born in it. Yes, but you were never meant to be shaped by it. You have tried to downplay your discernment, tried to rationalize away what you see and feel in your spirit. But the truth is, you see too much. You hear too clearly. And you've tried to mute it because you didn't want to carry the weight that came with it. But denying your sensitivity won't free you from it. It will only make you miserable. Your spirit reacts when something isn't right. Even if the room smiles, you sense deception. Compromise. Even danger before others speak a word. That's not paranoia. That's discernment. A spiritual radar given to you by God. Not to torment you, but to protect, to guide, to position you for intercession and insight. Others walk blind. You don't have that luxury. And that's why the enemy has fought you more intensely than others. He's not concerned with the crowd, he's terrified of the called. And you, chosen one, have been called to carry truth in a time of deception, purity in a culture of perversion, and fire in an age of indifference. You may not hold a microphone. You may not lead a platform, but your presence alone shifts atmospheres. You disrupt darkness without opening your mouth. You irritate demons simply by showing up. That's why rejection has followed you. That's why people misunderstand you. They sense what you carry before they even know your name. Your spirit exposes what they've tried to keep hidden. Your light reveals what they would rather ignore. You have tried to lower your intensity to make others comfortable. But you were never called to be safe. You were called to be set apart. The fire in you was not given for decoration, it was given for destruction. Destruction of lies. Destruction of chains. Destruction of strongholds. And fire cannot be tamed. Yes, it has cost you. You've lost friendships, been accused of being too much. You've watched others rise while you were stuck in silence. But don't mistake delay for denial. God has been sharpening your edge, building your endurance, making sure that when you rise with weight, not noise. You rise with authority, not ambition. You weren't overlooked. You were preserved. You weren't passed by. You were protected. Because the higher the call, the longer the process. And now that you're awakening to this truth, something is shifting. The fog is lifting. The fire is returning. You don't need anyone to validate your identity when heaven has already stamped it. You don't need another confirmation when your spirit is already burning. You are not like them. You never were. And trying to be has only made you tired. As it is written in the first letter of Peter, chapter 2, verse 9 says, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession. You are different because you were made to be, set apart not to elevate yourself, but to glorify Him, called not to dominate, but to serve with fire and truth. You're not better, you're burdened, and that burden is holy. Stop apologizing for your fire. Stop shrinking to fit into places God is calling you out of. Stop trying to explain your obedience to people who've never heard God the way you do. This walk will be lonely at times, but it will never be empty. God goes with you, and what you carry will make sense when you walk into the rooms designed for your calling. You're not like them, because you're one of His. This moment is not random. This message isn't a coincidence. Chosen one. This is a divine interruption, tailored, timed, and targeted. Heaven has stepped into your timeline to catch you before you slip too far. Before the noise swallows your clarity, before the numbness becomes your new normal, the Spirit of God has drawn a line, and He's calling you across it. You've asked God to speak clearly, to send a sign, to confirm what your spirit has been sensing for weeks, months, even years. This is that sign. This is that voice. This is the moment where God doesn't just whisper, He declares. Because when the called grow quiet, the earth grows darker. You were born to disrupt that darkness. But, disruption requiert décision. And decision requires clarity. That's what this is, not a motivational push, but a holy call, a pull back into alignment, a summoning into position. You've stood in the in-between for too long, half in, half out, hoping conviction would fade. But it hasn't, and it won't, because what's on your life cannot be ignored. Your silence was useful for a season. God used it to protect you, to grow you, to teach you. But now, silence has become disobedience. The words you've been carrying aren't for decoration. They are keys, weapons, seeds. And the longer you hold them, the more delay you plant. Every prompting you've resisted has chipped at your spiritual confidence. You've been doubting your voice, your discernment, your worth. But hear this. The fact that you still feel the weight of this message proves that your spirit is still alive, still connected, still reachable. You are not cold. You are awakening. The enemy wants you to think it's too late, that you've missed your window, that your time has passed. But God says no. The fact that you are reading these words right now proves that your destiny is still breathing, still burning, still waiting on your yes. But don't let the waiting fool you. This is your final chance to choose, surrender over safety, to trade hesitation for holiness, to step into what you've been afraid to claim, your identity. You were never meant to spectate. You were meant to shake nations, to carry words that pierce, to live in a way that shifts atmospheres. That's why it's felt heavy. That's why the warfare has been thick. The pressure has purpose. The weight means you're close, but you must respond. Comment, I won't resist. No. Say it, because resistance has become your prison. Say it, because you're tired of fighting the God who never gave up on you. Say it, because when you release resistance, heaven releases revelation. Don't let this moment pass you by. Don't wait for another message, another emotion, another reminder. This is holy ground. And every second you hesitate adds distance between who you are and who you were born to become. There are no coincidences when it comes to the called. You didn't just happen to find this. You were led here, tracked in the Spirit, surrounded by divine intention. Angels have marked this moment as your awakening. You've been circling the same cycles, praying the same prayers, asking God to do something new while you stay in the old. But you can't walk into your next with last season's obedience. What worked before won't work now. Your next step requires a deeper yes. There's something you've been delaying. A release, a confession, a decisión. And it has kept you from rising. You've tried to push it down, to bury it beneath busyness. But God keeps bringing it back, keeps interrupting your sleep, keeps breaking through your distractions. Why? Because He loves you too much to let you wander in circles. Your delay is draining your strength. You feel tired, not because you're weak, but because you're out of alignment when your spirit knows you're supposed to move. No amount of rest can substitute for obedience. Peace doesn't come from sleep, it comes from surrender. You've outgrown where you are, spiritually, emotionally, even physically. The restlessness you feel isn't punishment, it's preparation. God is loosening the roots around your old identity so He can plant you in your real one. But you have to agree. You have to stop pushing back when God is trying to pull you forward. No more resistance. No more wrestling. No more hiding behind confusion. You know what you're supposed to do. You know what He's asking for. All that's left is your response. Comment it now. I won't resist. Let the heavens record your declaration. Let hell feel the tremble of your yes. Let your spirit rise to its rightful place. This is the shift. This is the turning point. This is where resistance ends and purpose begins. Chosen one. Your yes doesn't just impact you. It impacts generations. What you carry is not small. Your obedience is not private. You may feel like it's just you in this battle, but heaven sees the ripple your surrender creates. Your yes opens doors for those behind you. Your yes breaks chains that have wrapped around your bloodline for decades. Your yes causes heaven to move and hell to tremble. Legacy is not built in comfort, it's built in obedience. And your obedience in this moment is going to shift everything. The trauma in your family ends with you. The confusion in your circle ends with you. The spiritual stagnation that tried to sit on your bloodline like a curse seat ends with you. You are not just a survivor. You are the beginning of something brand new. But beginnings require boldness. Stepping into legacy requires the courage to let go of comfort. You cannot bring yesterday's habits into tomorrow's mantle. The version of you that tolerated dysfunction cannot inherit destiny. You must rise. You must step forward, not because you feel ready, but because the time demands it. The Lord has placed a mantle on your shoulders, and it's heavy for a reason. It was never meant to be carried casually. It is weighty because it carries names, souls, generations. You've tried to explain away the pressure, tried to ignore the pull. But it's undeniable now. You are the turning point in your family. You are the one That's why the enemy fought you so hard. That's why certain temptations hit you harder than others. It's not because you're weaker, it's because you're marked. Your rising means the breaking of old cycles, and the enemy has thrown everything at you to keep you silent, distracted, delayed. But the delay is done. Now is the time for legacy to be awakened. Your voice has power. Your presence has weight. Your obedience has generational impact. This is why the pressure increased lately. This is why the fire got hotter. You're at the edge of release, and all of hell knows it. But so does heaven. You've been trusted with something eternal, and God never puts eternity in hands He doesn't believe in. He chose you, knowing your past, knowing your fears, knowing your weaknesses, and still, He said, this one will carry my glory. But you must choose to carry it. God can choose you, mark you, and anoint you, but He won't force you. You must choose to walk in what He's placed on you. You must say yes with your actions, not just your emotions. This is more than about a feeling, it's about alignment, about legacy, about heaven moving through you to restore what was broken before you ever got here. You are a repairer of the breach, a restorer of ruins, a builder of altars. And what you choose right now determines what your children inherit. You may not have them yet. You may not even see them. But they are watching from eternity's timeline, waiting for you to rise. Your yes is building their future. As we read in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19 says, "This day I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live." Choose life, not just for you, but for those coming after you. You don't need a stage. You don't need a title. Your obedience is your influence. The world doesn't need another polished voice, it needs surrendered ones. Ones who have been crushed, tested, refined, and still said, "Use me." Now, chosen one, if this word is reaching you, it's because heaven is speaking directly to your legacy. This isn't about hype. It's not just about inspiration. It's about inheritance. Spiritual territory is being transferred. But only the obedient will receive it. You're not fighting for a moment, you're fighting for movement. Something that will last. Something that will outlive you. You've already broken more ground than you know. The warfare has been proof of that. But now, you're stepping into the part where your voice carries weight. Your decision carries destiny, and your surrender becomes your strength. You are no longer just surviving. You are planting trees you'll never sit under. You are shifting atmospheres that others will breathe in. You are rewriting the story for those who have no idea how close they were to staying bound until you said yes. Let the enemy be put on notice. You are not backing down. You are not retreating. You are rising, and your legacy is coming with you. Like this message to seal what you've just heard. Share it with someone else who carries a calling they can't ignore. And subscribe, so you never miss a word that heaven is releasing to the remnant. Your obedience is building more than a moment, it's building a legacy. They tried to bury you, tried to silence your voice, tried to convince you that you were too broken to matter, too wounded to rise, too scarred to lead. But they didn't realize they were burying a seed, and seeds don't die in the dirt. They awaken. Chosen one. You've been underground, hidden beneath layers of disappointment, betrayal, misunderstanding, and spiritual warfare. You've been in the soil of silence and separation, but what they thought would end you only prepared you. What they meant to suffocate your purpose only cultivated your roots. You weren't buried to be forgotten. You were planted to grow. Every moment of darkness, every unanswered question, every season of isolation, it was sacred. Painful, yes, but sacred, because God never wastes a burial. In fact, some of the most powerful anointings are grown in graves. You didn't just survive the fall, you grew in it, deeper, stronger, more rooted. The silence they mistook for weakness was really preparation. The loss they assumed disqualified you actually became the fire that refined you. And now, something is shifting beneath the surface. The dirt is trembling. The ground can no longer hold what's inside of you. The seed is breaking. You've been carrying a quiet storm, a holy tension, a spiritual hunger that refuses to be satisfied with shallow living. That ache in your spirit, that constant unrest isn't confusion, it's resurrection. What they tried to bury is now rising, and this time, it won't ask for permission. You don't have to prove your growth. Real seeds don't have to shout. They just break through, and when they do, everything around them has to adjust. The light begins to reach them. The atmosphere begins to change. And soon, what was hidden becomes undeniable. But the breakthrough didn't come cheap. You bled for this. You broke for this. You surrendered in secret while others played for attention. You prayed through the kind of pain that makes people walk away. You kept your integrity when lies surrounded your name. You stayed faithful when it felt like faith had left you. And that's why the fruit will last. God doesn't promote what hasn't been tested. He doesn't elevate what hasn't first been humbled. And you've been humbled. You've been ground down to the core of who you are. No more masks. No more image. Just raw, unfiltered surrender. That is the place God moves from. The enemy wanted to bury you in shame, in fear, in failure. But God said, "Let it grow." You thought you were dying, but the truth is, you were deepening, stretching, expanding, and now, your roots have reached a depth that can sustain the weight of what's coming. The same people who mocked your silence will soon witness your rising, but don't rise to prove anything. Rise because God said so. Rise because it's time. Rise because the ground has released you, and the heavens are ready to rain. There's nothing ordinary about what's coming from your life. This won't be a slow bloom. It will be a supernatural eruption. The kind of growth that leaves no one the same. The kind of testimony that awakens the sleeping and convicts the rebellious. Because your story was never just about survival, it was always about glory. As we read in the Gospel of John, chapter 12, verse 24 says, "Unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds." You died to self, died to pride, died to comfort. And now, the harvest is coming, not just for you, but through you. Others will eat from the tree that you became. Others will find shelter in the branches of your breakthrough. What was once a buried thing is now a blooming thing. Don't rush to the surface. Don't force your exposure. Trust the timing of the one who planted you. He knows when the fruit is ripe. He knows when the leaves should appear. And he knows when to call you forth, not as the version that was broken, but as the vessel that was built in the dark, You've outgrown the soil that once held you. You no longer fit beneath the surface. The world that once rejected you won't know how to contain you. But don't shrink back to be accepted. You were never meant to fit into the smallness of people's expectations. You were meant to rise. Rise. Chosen one. Rise from the dirt. Rise from the labels. Rise from the memories. Not because you escaped the pain, but because you've outlived it. What they tried to bury is now breaking ground, and the earth will remember your name. Chosen one. You are not walking alone, even in the silence. Even when you felt abandoned. Even when the weight felt unbearable and the night stretched longer than your faith, you were never alone. From the first breath you drew, heaven placed warriors beside you, angels assigned, stationed, and alert walked beside you through it all. And they're still with you now. But these aren't just decorative beings sent for comfort. These are war angels, carriers of divine authority, blades drawn, eyes blazing. They don't respond to emotion, they respond to alignment. And alignment is shifting as you read these words. Heaven is watching. The throne is alert. And the angelic realm is waiting on your move. There are angels on assignment to your name, not just assigned to protect but to open doors, shut down attacks, and fight in realms you cannot see. When you were too tired to pray, they warred for your survival. When you didn't know which way to turn, they guarded roads, not even built yet. And when you were drowning in doubt, they stood guard to make sure you didn't slip too far. You felt the pressure, the resistance, the invisible warfare that seemed to follow every breakthrough. That wasn't imagination, it was confirmation. Because you weren't just walking through opposition, you were walking through divine activation. The enemy sees what's around you, the angels near you, the authority rising in you, and he's terrified. But this is the moment where passivity must die, because angels don't stay where rebellion lives. They are holy, they are precise, and they are heaven's response to your obedience. When you move in the Spirit, they move around you. And right now, they are waiting for your surrender to match your assignment. The battle you're facing isn't just physical, mental, or emotional, it's deeply spiritual. And the angels around you are only permitted to engage in accordance with your obedience. You cannot war with words alone. You must align your heart. When you speak, when you obey, when you yield, heaven engages, and not just on your behalf, but for your legacy, for your territory, for your name. Every attack sent against you had to pass through a filter of divine permission. If it reached you, it means heaven allowed it for one purpose, to reveal what you're carrying. And now, as you step into this next dimension, those angels are stirring again, ready, watching, waiting. But they won't wait forever. You've been protected, shielded, spared from more than you'll ever know. There were assignments of destruction sent to your life that never touched you, not because you were strong, but because heaven intervened. You didn't even see the blade that missed your soul, but the angels did, and they blocked it. The time is urgent now. The countdown is narrowing, and the angels have begun repositioning, not just to guard, but to move, to open doors that no man can shut, to fight battles in the heavens that have been delaying your destiny. But they only move when heaven gives the signal, and heaven moves when you align your life. You're not in this alone, but you must participate. This isn't the hour to remain neutral. Angels move in the presence of worship, obedience, and faith. But rebellion and delay restrict their hand. They are not moved by your potential, they are released by your posture. Surrender is what activates the armies of the Lord. Right now, a door stands open before you. In the Spirit, you can't see it with your eyes, but your soul knows it's there. You feel the pressure, the weight, the urgency. That's the gate trembling. That's the veil thinning. And the angels are ready to usher you through, if you will respond. This is your moment to shift, to step into divine covering with full understanding that you are surrounded, not forsaken, not exposed, surrounded. The Book of Psalms, chapter 34, verse 7 reminds us, "The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them." Len, chosen one. The angel of the Lord is with you, encamped, fixed, faithful. But fear of the Lord must return, not casual reverence, not shallow respect, holy fear, surrendered obedience. When you fear the Lord, the angels camp. When you delay, they depart. It's time to move, time to awaken, time to release heaven's movement on your behalf. And you do that with one actone declaration. If your spirit is leaping, trembling, weeping right now, that is your confirmation. Comment. The number 999 below. 999 is more than a number, it's a prophetic sign. It means it is complete. The old ends, the new begins. By commenting 999, you're marking this moment. You're declaring in the spirit realm, I step into obedience. I accept divine protection. I align with my calling. And when you do, the angels move. Doors open. Chains break. Territories are taken. You are not alone. Chosen one. You were never alone. The angels are waiting, but they won't wait much longer. Chosen one. Judgment is not a word people like to hear. It shakes us. It sobers us. But it's real, and it's coming not just for the world, but for those who knew and refused, for those who heard and ignored, for those who felt the call of God echo in their bones and still chose comfort over covenant. You've been given too much to pretend you don't know. Too many dreams, too many confirmations, too many moments where the presence of God wrapped around you like a fire and, yet still, you hesitated. That hesitation may feel small now, but in the Spirit, it is monumental, because it marks a turning point. It marks the difference between conviction and numbness. God has been patient with you, gracious, relentless in mercy. He's whispered through storms, spoken through strangers, interrupted your nights with the weight of purpose. He's pulled you back from edges. Others fell over. He's spared you from consequences that would have destroyed someone else. And yet, you continue to test the boundary of grace. But there is a limit. Mercy is not infinite when it's resisted over and over again. Eventually, mercy steps back and judgment steps in. Not because God is cruel, but because he is just. And justice is not optional for the righteous. You've mistaken delay for tolerance. But God doesn't delay judgment because he doesn't care. He delays it because he still hopes you'll respond. The longer you wait, the harder your heart becomes, the softer the voice of God sounds, until one day, the voice that once shook you now barely stirs you. That's not peace, that's spiritual death. creeping in. And make no mistake, judgment doesn't always arrive in lightning and thunder. Sometimes it looks like silence, like absence, like God giving you over to your own will. That is the most terrifying judgment of all, not wrath, but release. When God stops fighting your rebellion and lets you have what you've been choosing. Romans chapter 1 tells us this plainly. God gave them over. Those are the words that echo as a warning to the chosen ones who play too long at the edge of obedience. You think you can handle a little compromise, that you can navigate both kingdoms, but you can't. Light and darkness do not cohabitate, and you, chosen one, carry too much light to dwell in shadows and walk away untouched. You are one rebellion away from blindness, not physical blindness, but spiritual, where conviction no longer pierces, where truth begins to sound like judgment, and deception starts to sound like freedom. That is where many fall, not because they were evil, but because they drifted too long, and by the time they noticed, they couldn't find their way back. But not you. Not yet. The fact that you're still trembling reading this means the Spirit has not left you. You can still feel. You can still hear. You can still turn. And that, beloved, is mercy, not judgment. Not yet, but soon. There's a gravity to this hour that cannot be overstated. The line is being drawn. The fence you've been sitting on is splitting beneath you. Heaven is looking for those who will rise fully, not partially. And if you will not choose, your indecision will choose for you. Time will not wait. The angels will not wait. And eventually, grace won't either. God is not mocked. He will not be used like a convenience store for moments of emotional need. He is Lorder. He is not involved. He is holy and he requires a holy response. Your heart may feel tired. Your mind may feel torn. But you still know the truth. It's burning inside, you like a hidden ember. And today, it is being fanned into flame. Because God is not speaking to your guilt. He is speaking to your glory, to the real you, buried beneath delay and fear and sin. He's calling you out before it's too late. Do not mistake this final stretch of silence as permission to keep running. It is space to repent, to turn, to lay down everything that stands between you and Him. You don't need a crowd. You don't need applause. You don't need to wait for things to get worse. You just need to surrender, because the next time He speaks, it may not be as a whisper. It may be a closing door. You know too much to walk away now. You've seen too much, felt too much, been marked by too many encounters. This isn't about shame, it's about urgency. Because the worst kind of judgment is not the fire that falls from heaven. It's when heaven stops speaking altogether. You've been warned, and that warning is love. You've been pursued, and that pursuit is proof. But now, you must choose, because when mercy lifts, only truth remains, and truth, when rejected, becomes judgment. Let your heart be stirred again before the stirring stops. Chosen one, you are the last line, not just in your family, not just in your friend group, in the Spirit. You are a gatekeeper, a barrier between collapse and covering, between chaos and covenant. And that weight you've been carrying, the invisible pressure pressing against your chest, is not stress. It's responsibility, spiritual responsibility. There are people tied to your obedience, people whose lives are in direct connection to whether or not you rise. That's not a motivational idea. It's a spiritual reality. The prayers you've thought were ignored have actually been intercepting disaster. Your tears have stood between destruction and someone else's mercy. You've been carrying burdens that don't belong to you. But they move through you because you are an intercessor, whether you signed up for it or not. There are storms that have been held back not because of how loud you prayed, but because of how surrendered your heart has been even in silence. Your obedience has been a covering, a wall, a shield, not just for you, but for your bloodline. And heaven is saying clearly now, if you drop your mantle, the protection drops with it. The enemy is after more than you. He's after the gate. You are the gate. Your presence in that family, in that workplace, in that region, it's not random. It's divine placement. You're not just positioned, you're posted, like a watchman on the wall. And if you leave your post, the breach is exposed. The wall breaks. The enemy floods in. You've been wondering why the attack has been so relentless, why the warfare doesn't let up, why you feel like you're standing in the middle of something much bigger than your own life. It's because you are. You've been trying to survive. But survival was never the goal. Preservation was. God has preserved you so you could preserve others. This is about more than your healing, more than your breakthrough. It's about alignment for those who don't even know how to pray. There are people whose deliverance depends on your discipline, people who will be free because you refuse to bow, people who will find the light because you refuse to go dark. And that's why the enemy has whispered so fiercely in your ear, not just lies about your worth, but about your role. It doesn't matter if you fall. Someone else will pick it up. You're too tired to keep carrying this. All lies. Stratégique. Lise. Because if he can convince you that your role doesn't matter, he can cause a collapse that ripples for generations. You were never meant to blend in. You are a pillar, a covering, a protector. You've endured what would have shattered others, not because you're stronger, but because you're stationed. God knew where to place you, and he placed you as the last line of defense for people who don't even realize how much hell has tried to claim them. But now, heaven is testing your posture. Will you stay faithful when no one sees it? Will you stand strong when your own legs are trembling? Will you remain in position when every part of you wants to walk away? Because someone is watching you. Someone is counting on you. And most of them don't even know it. You may be the only person praying for them, the only one speaking light over their name, the only one standing in the spirit while they stumble in the natural, and God has honored your faithfulness. That's why you've seen breakthrough around others while still battling your own pain, because he trusted you to carry what they could not. You are the reason certain curses haven't returned, the reason cycles didn't continue, the reason children are still safe, even while parents are lost. You are the one standing in the gap. As it is written in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 22, verse 30 says, I looked for someone among them who would build up the wall and stand before me in the gap. But I found no one. But in your case, he found someone. He found you. You've been standing, worn, bruised, tired but still standing. You've wanted to quit, wanted to scream, wanted to throw the mantle off and walk away. But something in you won't let go. That something is the Spirit of God. It's the mark, the assignment, the eternal purpose written into your bones. And now, more than ever, the call is intensifying, not just to be aware, but to take your place with understanding, to stop looking for an exit and start building the wall. You are not just chosen to receive, you are chosen to cover. This is a sacred responsibility, and you don't carry it alone. Heaven backs you. Angels flank you. The blood of Jesus covers you, but you must stay at your post. Because if you fall, they fall. If you cover, they rise. You are the last line, and you are still standing. The mantle is falling. Chosen one. This isn't a metaphor. This is a spiritual reality. The mantle you're mantlies descending in the spirit. Not just a feeling, not just a moment of emotion. A weight from heaven is being released, and it has your name written into it. You can feel it pressing on you even now, that pull in your soul, that holy pressure, the rising sense that you can't stay in the shallow end anymore, that the version of you who could run, hide, delay its dying. Because the mantle is real. It's not a costume. It's not symbolic. It's a divine garment, and heaven is ready to rest it on your shoulders. This isn't a borrowed mantle. This isn't a passed-down tradition. This is a tailor-made assignment forged through fire, tears, loss, and obedience. You've been through what you've been through, not just to survive it, but to wear what it created, to wear the oil, to wear the weight, to carry what others couldn't. And the mantle is not light. It's not meant to be. It will cost you relationships. It will shift your schedule. It will call you out of comfort and into confrontation with darkness. But it will also cover you, mark you, anoint you to walk through flames and not be burned, to speak when no one else has the boldness, to carry authority that shatters strongholds in seconds. The mantle is not for show, it's for war. You weren't chosen because you were flawless. You were chosen because you endured. You stayed standing. You kept praying. You kept believing when it made no sense to. And now, God is saying, that one, I can trust that one. They didn't break. They bent, but they didn't break. This is why the warfare intensified lately. The closer the mantle gets, the harder the enemy hits. The enemy knows that once the mantle rests on you in full, he loses influence in every territory you touch, every room you walk into, every conversation you have, every soul you minister to becomes a threat to his plans. So he struck early, but you're still here, still chosen, still marked, still standing. The mantle is not coming for the polished. It's falling on the yielded, the bruised, the ones who cried in secret and still obeyed in public, the ones who fasted when no one saw, who sacrificed when no one clapped, who carried burdens no one could name. You are that one. And now the moment has come. The transfer is happening. What you saw others carry in past seasons, what you admired from a distance, is now being placed in your hands. You are no longer the one watching the fire. You are the one carrying it, like Elijah throwing his mantle onto Elisha. Heaven is placing something weighty on your shoulders that cannot be ignored. The days of pretending not to be called are over. The days of fitting in are done. The anointing you now carry makes that impossible. You're not better than others, but you are burdened. And that burden will lead you. It will burn inside you when you try to be silent. It will stir you when you try to settle. You'll find yourself weeping over people who don't even know your name, groaning in the spirit for cities, for families, for souls you've never met, because the mantle doesn't let you rest until heaven's will is done. As we read in the second book of Kings, chapter 2, verse 13 says, He picked up the mantle that had fallen from Elijah. Lend. There comes a moment when what once covered your predecessor becomes your responsibility. That moment is now. The mantle has fallen. You are picking it up. Chosen one. This is your time to move. Not just emotionally, but prophetically, boldly, publicly. It's time to let the world know you're not backing down, that you've accepted the mantle, the mission, the calling. Like this message, if you feel the mantle settling on you, share this word with someone else you know is walking into their assignment. Subscribe, so you don't miss a single moment of what heaven is revealing to the remnant in this hour. And comment below, I receive the mantle. Make it public. Make it prophetic. Let your own voice echo what heaven has already declared. This is not a temporary high. This is the turning point. You are not waiting on the mantle. The mantle is waiting on your yes. So say it boldly. Walk it fully. And never look back. Hell hates your awakening. Not because of your voice alone, but because of the sound it carries. A frequency hell cannot decode. A vibration in the spirit that disrupts cycles, confuse démons, and shakes foundations built in rebellion. When a chosen one awakens, the enemy loses ground. And that's exactly what's been happening inside you. Ground is shifting. The fog is lifting. The real you is waking up. The attacks weren't random. The confusion wasn't circumstantial. It was strategic resistance to the sound of your rising. Hell never feared your potential, it feared your awareness of it. It feared the moment you would realize who you are, what you carry, and how dangerous you've become. That moment is now. You've been through fires most wouldn't survive. Battles that never made it into public view. Your smile has covered wars. Your silence has hidden scars. But God saw every bit of it. And so did the enemy. Every time you were supposed to fall, you rose again. Even if it was just 1 inch above despair, you rose. That rising gun announced, unseen, raw and realist, what terrifies the kingdom of darkness, because it means the seed didn't die. It means the assignment failed. It means the oil still flows. You've questioned why you've had to endure what others didn't. Why you've been targeted so specifically. It's because you're not ordinary. And neither is your calling. You carry something, ancient something, heaven sealed in you before your bones were even formed. Your presence is a contradiction to everything hell tries to build. You don't even have to open your mouth. Your very presence exposes deception. Your silence convicts. Your discernment agitates the spirits in others that were comfortable staying hidden. You've always felt the pushback. Even when you tried to blend in, you couldn't. Because when light walks into a room, darkness doesn't ask, questions it, reacts. Hell hoped you'd collapse under pressure, that you'd start to believe the lie that you're too flawed, too late, too broken. It tried to overload your soul with anxiety, distraction, fear, shame. It attacked your mind because that's where destiny begins. If the enemy can disorient you there, he can delay you everywhere. But here you are, still reading, still breathing, still sensing that something is breaking, that something is coming, that something in you is about to emerge that can't be tamed, silenced, or hidden. The enemy is not attacking where you've been. He's attacking where you're going. He's not trying to steal your past. He's terrified of your future. That's why the warfare didn't make sense. That's why it felt like you were being punished when you were really being preserved. Every time you've been crushed, heaven collected the oil. Every time you wept, angels wrote down the tears. Every time you wanted to quit and didn't, hell lost momentum. You are a walking declaration that darkness cannot win. But don't forget your awakening is a threat, not just to hell's plans for you, but for every person connected to you. When you rise, they rise. When you walk in your mantle, things around you shift. And the enemy knows he can't stop you once you truly know that. That's why the distractions increased. That's why temptation sharpened. Because the closer you get to stepping into who you really are, the more hell tries to offer you a counterfeit version, something easier, smaller, quieter, a version that doesn't carry the fire, a version that stays safe. But safe is not your portion. You were made for war, not with flesh and blood, but with powers and principalities that fear the sound of your footsteps in obedience. You are the answer to a problem in this generation. You are the interruption to a pattern that's been playing out far too long. And you don't need applause. You don't need permission. You just need to obey. As we read in the book of Acts, chapter 19, verse 15 says, Jesus I know, and Paul I know about. But who are you? Even demons know names in the Spirit. You, chosen one, are not unknown in hell. You are feared, watched, tracked, because they know your name, not the name given by your parents, but the identity heaven sealed into your spirit. Hell hates your awakening because it means loss. Loss of territory, loss of strongholds, loss of generations it thought were already claimed. But that's why you were sent. You are a divine reversal. You are heaven's strategy. You are the storm sent to shatter spiritual drought. You don't need to wait for confirmation. You are the confirmation. Don't underestimate your awakening. It's not just emotional. It's prophetic. You've crossed a line in the spirit that you cannot return from. And now, the only direction left is forward. Let hell tremble, because you just woke up and you're not going back. Chosen one, this is the final call to rise. Not later, not when you feel ready, not when the fear subsides. Now, you have lingered long enough on the edge of decision. You've been caught between the pull of comfort and the command of purpose. But heaven is not whispering anymore. The time for subtle nudges and quiet invitations has passed. This is a roar from the throne room. A final shout across the divide. Stand up, or stay behind. This moment will not come again. Not like this. Not with this level of grace and clarity hovering over you. What you do with this call will determine more than a season. It will determine a legacy. There is a line in the spirit, and it's no longer blurry. You either cross it, or you fade into the crowd. You step forward, or you step aside. There is no middle ground. Not for the marked, not for the called, not for the ones who carry fire in their bones. You've been entrusted with too much. The weight you feel isn't imagination, it's heaven's investment. God has poured years of shaping, crushing, and refining into your vessel. And for what? To sit silent? To remain dormant while the world groans for awakening? No. You were born to rise. But this is not rising for show, for status, for spectacle. This is rising for war, for redemption, for obedience that reverberates through eternity, the kind of rising that costs you everything, but gives you back more than you ever imagined. You already know what needs to go. the habits, the attachments, the self-pity and the self-preservation. You already know what's been keeping you locked in cycles. The question now is, will you give it up? Will you lay it down? Because you cannot carry old weight into new dimensions. You cannot carry mixture into a pure move of God. You cannot keep dabbling with sin and still demand authority. The time for negotiating with your calling is over. You were not invited, you were summoned. And yes, it will stretch you. It will break your pride. It will strip your comforts. But it will also unlock what you've been aching for. The clarity, the confidence, the covering, the sense that you are finally standing in the place your soul was designed to occupy. You were built for this. The storms that shaped you weren't random, they were training. The fire that should have destroyed you baptized you. You don't look like what you've walked through, because God kept you in the shadows until it was time to shine. And now, the light has shifted, and it's pointing at you. There are people waiting for you on the other side of obedience. Souls tied to your surrender. Territories that cannot be taken until your feet step onto them. You are the answer to someone's cry. The fulfillment of a generational prayer. The vessel heaven wants to pour through in this exact hour. But God will not force your hand. He offers the mantle. You must pick it up. He opens the door. You must walk through it. He calls you by name. But you must answer. Do not assume the moment will come again. Because, in the story of every chosen one, there comes a final color line that, once crossed, changes everything. That line is here. And the question is not whether God is ready to use you. The question is, are you ready to be used? Elijah had a mantle, but Elisha had to chase it. David was anointed, but he had to step out of the field. Esther was chosen, but she had to approach the king, knowing it could cost her life. There is always a risk, always a cost. But the reward? Glory, authority, purpose fulfilled. And now, it is your turn. Do not let fear have the final word. Do not let delay rob you of what you were born to carry. Do not wait for another sign. This is the sign. You are not just a survivor. You are not just a believer. You are not just another voice in the noise. You are a weapon, a torch, a temple of fire. You were never meant to blend in. You were built to shift the atmosphere. So rise, even if your voice trembles, even if your hands shake, even if your path is unclear. Rise, because the clock has stopped ticking. The pause is over. The angels are moving. The mantle is set, and your name is being echoed through eternity as heaven watches one last time. Will you step into what you were born for, or will you stand still and watch it pass? The choice is yours. Chosen one. If you've walked through every section of this message, you already know this wasn't just content. This was divine collision. A moment where eternity leaned into your timeline, and heaven placed its finger on you. You weren't scrolling by chance. Every word you heard, every stir in your spirit, every part of your heart that came alive, it was all confirmation. You have been chosen, prepared, called, and now you answer. No more delay, no more hiding, no more waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect version of yourself. The fire is already burning. The mantle is already falling. The time is already now. Heaven is listening. Hell is trembling. And your voice must rise. Like this message, if something deep in your spirit has awakened, Share this with someone else who carries a fire they've been too afraid to release. Subscribe to stay connected to every prophetic word being released over this generation. And comment below, "I accept the call." No. Say it with boldness. Say it with tears. Say it with fire. Let it echo through the spirit realm. This isn't just a comment, it's a covenant. You are not average. You are not invisible. You are not random. You are the answer to a cry, the light in a dark room, the vessel marked by fire. Heaven has called, and you have answered.